Yes, yes, yes. Big up to every single one of you. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all well on this Monday morning. I hope you had a brilliant weekend. A weekend of football, which, to be fair, as an Arsenal fan, was pretty good, but it looks like everyone else has had drama. Arsenal had drama as well. But we did get the 3 points. We only complain with referees when we lose, apparently, and when we draw. But you know what? I'm going to complain about them even when we win because it was a shambles. We're going to start there. We're going to talk on Spurs. To dare is to do. That's got to be one of the funniest slogans I've ever known in my life. A football club. To dare is to do. To dare is not to even try. That's what they should be called. We're going to talk about Chelsea. We're also hopefully going to be joined by Flawless and Martin, who I believe are running late, but they haven't replied, so they might even be still sleeping because I know what they're like. But it is us three for now. So we're going to talk football and all things Arsenal and Chelsea. We are going to touch on Spurs. Do you know what? Should we do that first? Because, you know, Chelsea and Arsenal can actually unite for once because they are an absolute mess. It is an absolute pleasure watching Tottenham Hotspur right now. The news that we have this morning is that Ange Postecoglou is going to remain as the Spurs manager. From what we hear this morning, there is, however, some conflicting news from people when you talk to Spurs fans, judges who feel that he could be on his way out. So what do you think? Because I can't believe he's still there. I just got to be real, Lee. I don't really know what they're trying to hang on to because although they've got injuries, the way they're playing is just one way and it is killing them. And Leicester are the first team that have gone there and not, sorry, the first team to go there and humiliate them. Ipswich Town have gone to their backyard and beaten them as well. That's two relegation sides. When Jamie Vardy is doing the double over you and scoring at 49 years old, you've got to question what's happening, really, ain't you, at Tottenham? So, what do you make of it all, and do you think he's going to go soon?
I think he's now on very, very thin ice. I have to say, listen, 7 defeats on the spin, Leicester. You're going away to Spurs. It's not at home. That's Tottenham are at home. You know what I mean? Like for Leicester, you might think, oh, they could get something at Leicester. But to lose at Tottenham and the way that they did was incredible. I didn't watch the game. I went out. I was out for dinner yesterday. And one of the reasons I did is because I thought, oh, they ain't going to, I only really try to watch Tottenham when I think they're going to lose. I didn't think in no way, any shape or form, they was going to lose this game. So I'm not bothered. They're 1-0 up at half time. So you think like, it's all over and done with. But I did watch that first 5 minutes of the second half before going out, and they're 2-1 up. And to be honest, I went out and I totally forgot that they were still playing. And I thought, well, I'll have a check of the score. The worst case scenario, right? When I looked at the phone, was that it would be a draw. You know what I mean? Like for. And I looked at it and it said full time 2-1. I couldn't believe it. I dropped my phone. Dropped my phone in the soup. You know what I mean? Like it's unbelievable. Like you know what I mean? So you can't lose to teams like that at home. And I'm going to be really, really honest. They're not in the relegation dogfight because there's 4 teams down there. Southampton being one of them. There's only 2 teams that can get relegated because they've gone. They've gone. You know what I mean? But if there was some better teams in there, Dan, realistically, they would be in big trouble. Big trouble. But I think that there's 3 or 4. You know, when Wolves fans, and I know, and I'm not having a go at Wolves fans when I say this, I was talking to a few of them, we'll be all right because there's 3 teams worse than us. Right, that's what Wolves are saying. Well, Spurs are lucky that there's 5 teams worse than them because otherwise they could be in absolute trouble if it carries on like. Now, I think you've got to look at Spurs players and everything like that because when they're playing in these league games, I watch them in the cup games. I watched them a little bit in Germany, and I watched the Liverpool game a little bit. Their performances in those games are chalk and cheese to what they're doing in the league. And the reason being is that they can win those cups, they can't win the league. So their attitude is completely different. And so when they go to Liverpool in the next couple of weeks or whenever it is, you watch them put in a performance there. That's because they've got something that they can win, something the players can win. Then the players are down tools in the league. And if you're down tools in the league, you've got a chance of being put into that, like, you know. Their actual form at this moment is relegation form. And Henry, who we love and all that, like, you know, I was listening to what he had to say yesterday. How many more games is going to work? He keeps saying that. He might as well just put that on repeat every game, that, you know what I mean? Because it's unbelievable. But the frustration's there. Now, listen, I get it, and I really do understand. They've got a lot of injuries. They have got a lot of injuries. But so have a lot of other teams. You know, Bournemouth have got quite a few injuries. Arsenal got quite a few injuries. I don't know about, like, Manchester City have had their injuries this season and all that. And the thing is, probably, you know, like Dan will go in, that Chelsea have had a few injuries as well. But what happens is, with those few injuries, the standard hasn't dramatically dropped so bad. Yeah, they've drawn a couple of games and Chelsea have lost a couple of games that they shouldn't have done and whatever. But we're talking now, this has been going on for months and months. I think they've lost 13 games now, like, you know. I do think if they'd have lost against in Germany and then maybe didn't get into the, you know, automatic positions in the Europa League, I do think that he'd gone. But I do think that while they're in that Europa League, he'll keep his job because they can still get Champions League from that, like, you know.
I think it's the only reason they're keeping him is because of the cups. There's
Yeah.
literally no other reason. They're in all the cups. So, you know, they can say they can win everything. Now, I don't believe they're going to win anything at all. I still think Liverpool turn it round in the Carabao. I don't think they're winning the Europa League. And I don't think they've got any chance of winning the FA Cup whilst Liverpool and the other teams better than them are in it. But I will say that Tottenham, that's what they want, innit? So if Ange was to come 14th but win a Carabao Cup, that's a successful season for Spurs because they're so starved of any form of silverware that in my whole existence on this earth, they've won 3 cups. And I'm 37, by the way. I'm not 15. So you look at it and you think they are that starving of trophies that they are just praying that that's all they've got left. That Ange, he's come out in an interview and he said, I win something every 2 years, every club, every second year I win something. They're now going to basically give him that chance, aren't they? And that's it. Now, if I was a Spurs fan, yeah, I'd have a little bit of sympathy with him to say that he's got his complete back line gutted. But let's be real, they're still playing exactly the same way as they were the last time that they were all fit. So there isn't really any change with it. But there are some suggestions that Ange is on his way out. Apparently, he's coming to this little Welsh town. I don't know if anyone knows it. It's off to Wales. I'm, of course, joking. That is not a Welsh town. That is his record at Spurs since the 1st of December. What an absolute disaster that is. Draw, loss, win, loss, draw, loss. That is a disgrace. I'm sorry, it looks absolutely hopeless for Ange Postecoglou, but there are still some of the fan base that are actually sticking by him, Dan. I don't know about yourself. I think personally it's a real top job he's doing as an Arsenal fan, but certainly as a Spurs fan, I'd be pulling my hair out, bruv.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I can't believe he's there. Do you know what? To be honest, since he went on that 10-game unbeaten run at the beginning of last season, I barely remember him winning games. Like, I feel like Tottenham have lost pretty much every week since or drawn. I've been on holiday. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know how Ange is still in a job. I don't know what Tottenham's standards are. Whenever we speak to Henry, he says Tottenham have got ideas of being this like elite destination club where it's a tourist attraction and people come from far and wide to visit the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and see them play. But it's not really a spectacle to see them play. I guess it's entertaining football.
Let's be real, though, Dan. Just quick, you mentioned that. Let's be real, right? If I said to you, don't know anything about this club, there's just Tottenham Hotspur, never heard of them. What are they about? Well, they've got a load of money. They've got a beautiful stadium. They've got great facilities. For tourists, it's unbelievable because of what you can do at the stadium other than just football. They've got a global fan base. They're a big club in terms of what they've won in their history. you'd think, blimey, they've got everything in their locker to be a huge club. They're a big six club, apparently. Brilliant. Okay. But they are the club, really, that's got all their gear but no idea. Because
Yeah.
Levy's got no idea or ambition of what to do or how to win. He's just got all the money and he's splashing it around. Look at what they've spent under Ange in 2 years. 400 million euros. That is absolutely crazy amount. And they got 50 million pounds that they given. They go to Nottingham Forest and they bypass every single one of those players that's balling out right now. Morgan Gibbs, White, the list goes on. And they go and pick Brennan Johnson. I mean, this is how bad it is. Like, it is so poor, mate. It's depressing.
Yeah, I just think the club is running away, which is just an absolute mess. It's ran for non-footballing reasons, isn't it? I think, and I don't understand the attraction, to be completely honest with you, either. If I think, like you said, if that club was in another country, and if there are examples, then let us know. But I would have no interest in visiting that club to go and watch them play. It just wouldn't. It wouldn't be something that I would look at. I think a number of people would look at that. I think winning breeds interest from tourism and star players breeds interest. And I think Son and Harry Kane probably did that for a bit. But now, who wants to travel to go and watch Archie Gray play football in a number of different positions? I know he's a good 19-year-old, but you know, like it doesn't make any sense to me. And I feel like Ange is out of his depth. I think the only reason Tottenham fans feel sympathy for him is because of how poorly Daniel Levy's ran the club. And I think they just feel like actually he hasn't had a fair crack of the whip. Part of me would like to have seen Ange given his full backing, given us a huge squad, because I believe he needs one with the amount of injuries he causes. I was reading this morning that he's had arguments and is the reason their fitness coach last year got the sack, because Ange basically said, I will work in my way and you don't tell me if he's fit enough to play or not. And apparently they said Van der Ven's fit for 60 minutes against Chelsea, 10 games into last season. And he played him for 79 and he got injured.
Do you know what, though, Dan? You say he ain't been backed and all that, like, but what manager really has been backed apart from?
Nah, I don't think many, Lee, to be fair.
Manchester City, mate. Yeah, Pep definitely gets back to the hill, obviously, like, and that's proved that in this transfer window with the signings, 3 or 4 signings. Chelsea to a certain degree of backing their managers, but not to the full extent where they're going out and spending millions on the goalkeeper, what they need and whatever, like, Arsenal definitely not. Being back to a certain thing, like, Aston Villa maybe to a certain degree, but when you look at teams like Aston Villa, Newcastle, I don't hear they're not being. They've been just Tottenham have been back probably more than them, and there they are battling for a top place in Europe. And I go. You can go to many of teams. And I'll be really honest. Has the Brentford manager been backed? Like when I look at that, he's lost Ivan Toney, his top goal scorer in the summer. They haven't gone out and said, "Oh, there's another certain amount, loads and loads of money to go and buy another striker and all that." Like, Now they're in 11th place.
Brighton, look at this, though, Lee. Look at the players that he's been giving. He's been 65 on Solanke, 55 on Brennan Johnson, 46 on Maddison, 40 on young Archie Gray, 40 on Van der Ven, 30 on Kulusevski, 30 on Odegaard. They've got 25 on Dragusin, new goalkeeper Vicario for just under 20. Then they've got another goalkeeper this month in Kinski for 16 million. They've got the youngster Jota, who's been then loaned out. Then they've got some of these youngsters, Bergval, who's now being part of it. And then they have also got the young Korean lad that they've got in as well. That's just under Ange, by the way, right?
Right. So when you look at that, right, now this is a manager that they have back. Then you've got the Nottingham Forest manager who was obviously there at Tottenham. He's not had that sort of money at Forest, and there they are in the top.
I don't know, Lee. I think Forest has spent a bit of money.
They have spent a bit of money, but I don't hear him complaining that he hasn't.
I think what Forest have done differently is Forest have put together a good squad, and I think that's the difference. I look at those names on that team on that list there, and I think I'd probably, if I was fighting for Champions League, I'd have 2 players there. I think Kulusevski and probably I think Solanke could do you a job as a striker to get you 15 goals in the Prem, maybe 20 on a really good season. Other than that, I look at those names. Even Maddison, I think he's blown so hot and cold at Spurs. I really don't know what his level is. I think he's a great player on his day, but I don't know if he suits Ange's system or what. But I look at the other players there, but there's a bit of potential. But some of them, like you said, Dan, 55 million on Brennan Johnson. They must have got the
Crazy.
wrong bloke when they went to training, like you said. Like Gibbs White would have been a perfect fit for Ange's philosophy. I'm so confused. I know, obviously, a lot of Spurs fans are very vocal about him leaving, but I'm always shocked every time I go on after a Spurs defeat. There's still plenty that are very vocal about him staying, and I can't believe the club is that like split between the fan base. But I hear what Lee's saying. He still had 450 million spent on just him. The fact is they've spent it wrongly.
It's just, I get what. All I'm saying is that when you hear all this Spurs thing about Levy and everything like that, I get it. I understand what they're saying and everything like that. But you can't keep I think they're hiding behind that a lot, Spurs fans. You know what I mean? Like, they want to stick up for Ange and all that, like, you know. But what don't make it any easier, guys, is the likes of Bournemouth, where they are at this moment in time. Now, they've got injuries. Bournemouth haven't got a striker at this moment in time, but their manager's finding a way to do things.
Had 2 hat-tricks in a row, haven't they?
Yeah, and so you have to say, you know, credit where credit's due. You know, listen, Manchester United have spent a lot of money. It's not just about spending money; it's getting in the right players and getting the right thing in and the right fit and all that. Now, listen. We have digs at West Ham and all that at this moment in time. West Ham have gone through a manager, spent a bit of money, you know what I mean, but ridiculed this season, you know, by many. You know what I mean? Poor old Lawless has had to, you know, be sticking up from left, right, and centre. They're 3 points above Spurs now.
Yeah,
crazy.
You know,
but I think they could admit they got it wrongly. Like they admitted they got that one wrong with Lopetegui and swiftly moved him on. They gave him a fair crack of the whip, never got better, moved him on, recruited Graham Potter. Levy's not prepared to do that with Ange, is he? He's not sitting here going, "Oh, I might have got this one wrong."
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, listen, you know, when you're looking at Ange at the beginning of the last season, he done very, very well, but you know, it was never sustainable. And I look at him like, do you know? I look at him and I said, don't ever say that. You know, do you remember when we never have a go at referees? He said, like, when they was on a real roll and everything like that. And I said, that'll come back to bite him. It is, because, like, you know, the handball decision, he's come out then and saying referees are shocking and everything like that. It's just when things were going well, everybody was on. But now I think with Ange, I think he was very, very clever when he first come in there. He went with all this attacking thing, and God, Spurs were starved of good football for a couple of years, and they were. But then he's just not changed his tactics, not changed his way of thinking. And I look at it and I think, right, okay, is that Levy's fault that you're not one-dimensional? You know, you look at Villa, I look at Newcastle, and I'm going to probably say Chelsea at this in this way. They have different styles of playing when they play one team to when they play another. When Aston Villa come up against Arsenal, they play differently. Newcastle play differently when they come up against Arsenal, Man City. But when they play against other teams, they play a different brand of football. And there's different horses for courses sort of thing. It's just one way with him, like, you know what I mean? They go 2-0 up against Chelsea, like, you know, and I think that's when it's all gone wrong for Ange that day, if I'll be really honest. They were 2-0 up against Chelsea. And my first thought was, because we was coming back from Wolves that game, do you remember, Dan? Like, and like, first thought was, as soon as Chelsea equalised, they ain't winning that game now. You know what I mean? Like, Chelsea will go on and win this game. And that's what happened. Love and behold, it happened. And you cannot keep doing that. You know what I mean? Like, on the thing, like, you know, and I looked at the game yesterday, and what makes it worse for me is that those 2 goals come 2 minutes after his team talk, Dan, at half time. Do you know what I mean? That tells me a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'd imagine, we've all played football, been in dressing rooms. You're 1-0 up at half time. Next 10 minutes, don't give away nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's 0-0 is a saying. Like, you know what I mean? Don't give them anything to get back in, and then we go again, right? Well, within 5 minutes, they're 2-1 down. So what is being said in the dressing room and things like that? And you can blame Levy as much as you like, but when you see your manager on the sideline, really just looking just like a zombie, wasn't he? Like yesterday, it's great to see from an Arsenal fan's point of view. But two things that are writing on the wall for me for him, right? One is when the away fans dig at you, you know what I mean, and you've lost the away fans, which they have done. And then even when he's going down the tunnel yesterday, people are slagging him off, and he's come back again. What the hell does that tell you? You know what I mean? Like, there's only one. He's on borrowed time now. Like, do you know what I mean? Dead man walking is what they say, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean?
I think when you look at it, like it ain't about what you spend in football, because we've seen the top spenders. But when you are provided that much money, you have to deliver. And even that Spurs team, which I think is dire, by the way, when I line it up, there's no way it's 15th. No way. Like, it might be like, oh, Christ, it's 11th at the moment. It needs to get a little bit better, or it's just scraping into the top half. But it should be like going for the top 6 when it's fit, in my opinion. I understand he's got a couple of injuries, but he has only really got his 2 centre halves. It's not like he's trying to put bare bones together here. He ain't got anything at all. You look at the spend here, look, the money spent by the top 6 clubs. Sorry about the blurry image, but obviously Chelsea we know about. Man United, what a disaster. I mean, look how much they've spent, across like a ridiculous amount of managers. They're still an absolute mess, try to scrape in to the top half. Then it's Spurs, So Liverpool, City and Arsenal, albeit this is just since Arteta's took charge back in 2019. Arsenal have actually spent a hell of a lot of money, but Spurs have spent more. So Spurs have spent more money since Mikel Arteta's been at Arsenal. That is absolutely crazy. And look at it. It's just an absolute mess. Now, I'm not saying that what Arteta's spent has been brilliant, because we've still got nothing to show for it either. But Tottenham can't even get themselves out of a relegation zone on that money, That's how bad it is. It really is crazy. It really
But
is.
Spurs have got a history of not spending their money well. If you think when they sold Bale, they had that 100 million. They blew it on every player. They bought in real poor quality. And then when they got to the Champions League final, do you know what I mean? They got to the Champions League final as well. And then their recruitment, when they could have been getting better, was like Ndombele, I think, that season after they got to the Champions League final. And then exactly like you said, the same with Harry Kane. That money, what have they bought in to show for it? It's just crazy. And now I don't even think they've got, I don't know, they might have a sporting director. I'm not sure they've had one since the Italian guy left.
No, it's mad. It really is, man. Look, let's move from Spurs. Let's talk about Arsenal and Michael Oliver, because PGMOL have come out and obviously spoken about it. And we are going to try and appeal this Lewis Skelly red card. I don't think we're going to get anywhere with it. Personally, I think they've made a decision that they're going to stick by Michael. First of all, me and Lee said this last night. It needs to be said again. We do not agree with any of the abuse that him, his family, or anyone is obviously getting. What we do agree with is that he's made a mistake, and I think that we can criticize him for that. And there's a difference, and there's a huge difference between abusing someone or criticizing someone. I don't think you should abuse anyone in any profession if they get it wrong. Yeah, you get stuff wrong in any possession, any work of life, whether you're a doctor, a dentist, a teacher, a fireman, a policeman. You get good ones and bad ones, right? You get good ones and bad referees, boys. And I think we've got a bad one here. I really do. And I know that none of them are great. And Spurs don't like certain referees. Chelsea don't like Anthony Taylor. Arsenal certainly don't like Michael Oliver. 8 red cards now against Arsenal. Nowhere near the level of what he sent off any other. He's already sent off 2 or 3 this season alone. Let's listen to what Jamie O'Hara has said on Sky, because this is very, very interesting. This has come from a Spurs player, a Spurs fan, someone who hates Arsenal. And just have a listen to this.
Can't really hear that, Dan, to be fair.
No, I can't hear it then.
Okay, no problem. If you can't hear it, I can't put it up because I'll get copyrighted. Basically, Jamie, I played it earlier and you said it was all right, Lee, but obviously it's got a bit blurry.
For some reason,
For some reason it ain't. In a nutshell, Jamie O'Hara has basically said that he shouldn't referee Arsenal games because he's got something against them. And a lot of the people that suggest that he has actually got a conspiracy or for whatever reason has got something against Arsenal, the fans are shut down and locked down. Now, I did a video on my channel about it a few months ago after the Manchester City decision. And if I'm honest with you, I thought it was really kind of fitting when you go through each incident. Something about it is off. And at the weekend, he made himself look a bit silly. And the reason he made himself look silly is not just the Lewis Skelly decision. It's on top of that, the João Gomez one as well. That was the one that really, really did make me think, hang on a minute, something's wrong here. How can you send Lewis Skelly off with a straight red and then you give a second yellow to what Gomez did to Timber? That is the bit nobody can ever explain to me and make me understand how he's justified that. So before I come to Lee, Dan, let me speak to you because you might think, oh, me and Lee are just moaning because it's like we actually won the game. We're cool, 3 points, we move on. But that decision was baffling to me. I've never seen a red card for something like that before. I've also not got anything left for me to try and justify how he's given a second yellow for one and a straight red for the other, when I thought the second yellow was a straight red. I mean, it must be. So talk to me from your point of view, man.
Yeah, I think it's obvious to see that the PGMOL are just completely defending Oliver here, I have to say. First of all, I agree. I think the abuse goes too far. Like, the guy's just doing his job, but he ain't very good at it. So you don't need to. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to get personal with him. I think the PGMOL standards have dropped every season now for consecutive years. I think it's really poor, the standard of refereeing in this country. I think definitely looking at referees to come over from abroad with no allegiances is something that I think the Premier League, if it wants to sustain its place as considered the best league in the world, needs to seriously look into, because there are far too many issues with PGMOL. The fact VAR backed it on the day is the thing I just can't get my head around. I feel like that shows like they're too scared to say something to someone who's above them in Michael Oliver, who's considered one of the top referees in the country. But the statement is even weirder, to say, oh, it was very late and the point of contact is incredibly high, when we literally saw challenges only a few weeks ago in different games where contact is made at a similar height with studs up, and they say we're not going to send them off or give them a card because the intent wasn't there. Now, I don't see any intent from Lewis Skelly to cause any harm. I think it's a professional foul. I do think it's a yellow. I think we'd all probably agree it's a yellow. The fact he's 70, 80 yards away from the box is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sure you two have said it all over the time since that happened, because I think every single person is in agreement here, bar the PGMOL. I haven't heard one person, unless they're trolling, suggest that this isn't anything but a yellow. The thing that I think's really weird as well is I think the PGMOL have got their backs up, because Arteta said, I don't think we should even have to appeal this. They should basically come out and apologise and say we got it wrong. And I think because of that statement, they might have got their backs up even more. And now they're going to make it incredibly difficult for Arsenal to even get this appealed. And I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. Right.
No, it is, mate. It is. Let's address this comment. Daniel, I've not seen many of these comments, Lee, but I'll throw this one to you.
Yeah.
Daniel says, why are we all ignoring that Lewis Skelly had his studs up and he caught the lad right up his leg and then finished on his foot? There are some that I've had messages as well, a couple of people that are from rivals saying, oh, stop moaning, it was a red card. Talk to me, Lee.
Well, funny enough, like if you have a look at most tackles, there's going to be some sort of studs up, because that's how it is. You know what I mean? Like the thing is, he's probably watching that in slow motion. Watch it in normal time. You know what I mean? And this is the thing. You're watching and making decisions on slow motion. That's not part. That's not what it's about. It's not what it's about. And if it's a studs up, is what he's claiming, then why are you giving a yellow to Gomez? Do you know what I mean? Like that, you know, like I'll come back with you on that then. Like why? So listen, let's get this right. No one's, I'm not even, it's a cynical foul. It's not right. You know what I mean? Like in an ideal world, Miles Lewis-Skelly should let him go.
But Fernandinho made that challenge every week for City.
Of course, that's what I'm getting down. I'm getting to that. Like, exactly that. Rodri makes it made a living on it. He's got the Ballon d'Or on half of his games like that. Like, you know, and that's the way it is. I'm not in any way saying that it's a nice foul. It's a form of cheating if you want to be really honest about it. But that goes on in football. You know, I've heard people go like, you know, it's an orange. I think Jamie Redknapp says it's orange. I've never seen an orange card in my life.
That is utter woke nonsense, isn't it?
It's either a yellow or a red. It's an orange. There's no such thing as an orange. Only a fruit, you loop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know. So this is what I'm saying. Like, you know, it's either a yellow or a red. That's the decision that you got to make, like, you know, and it's not serious foul play. It's just a little dark arts thing that is in football all around. And you see it week in, week out. And I've got no doubt if that was on the edge of the box and 10 yards from their goal, it could be condemned as a red because it's a goal scoring opportunity. But it's not. It just doesn't cover anything. And what I look at that and I think, right, okay. And this is where I'm glad about the Gomez one, because you could even say, it was studs up and everything like that. So that can come into that argument. But then when another decision, which is 10 times worse than that, he decides that it's a yellow card, okay. But he's obviously on another card, so like, you know, he's got to go. That's when it becomes an issue. Now, listen, I'm going to say this now. Like, I don't care whatever you say. You know, like this scenario. Oh, he's made a mistake. No, he's not made a mistake. He's not made a mistake. He's blatantly cheated, because he does it to Arsenal all the time. Now, he's got something against Arsenal. And I don't care what anybody says. Oh, don't go waffling and whatever. There's evidence on this. Go back to last season with the ones with Kolovich. You know what I mean? Like, are two worse tackles than that. And then you've got his mate trying to back him up and going, we don't really want to send people off. He wants to go and go. And then he's quickly sending off Trossard. Did he think about that rule? Did he think about that when he on Saturday, when like he did? Did he have the same mindset when he was going to let Kolovich off like he had today or on Saturday? No, he didn't. And there's too much of this now with him, like, you know. And for me, there's too much against it. Now, other refereeing decisions, we've had some real issues with referees this season. The Brighton one for a penalty, we've never seen that. But it, you know, I get whatever, like, you know, but we've got evidence that this referee referees Arsenal differently to how he referees Wolves, differently how to he referees any other side. 3 years ago, the 2 yellow cards on Martinelli. I've never seen it again. Who's on it? Oliver. You know, in that game, by the way, Gomez was on a booking and he kicks the ball 40 yards away. 8 yards and 4 centimetres more than one Trossard did it. But he sends him off. Like, you know. But chooses not to on this occasion. There's too much evidence. I don't. It should
Doku as well in the game at Man City. Remember Doku? He got kicked off for Trossard. Doku kicked it away. Nothing. The other thing was the Martinelli double sending off against Wolves last. Was it 2 years ago now? 2 years ago? Can't remember now. It's so long ago. And I'm not seeing that. It's just a madness what we see.
There's too many of them. Like, you know what I mean. What I like. I'll go back to the one on Xhaka in the League Cup. Like, yeah, probably is a sending off. Right, it's probably as a sending off. But if it had been the other way around, there's a little bit of doubt in it. and he wouldn't give it. He'd go, it's a yellow card. But with us, it's straight red and everything like that. I don't want him refereeing Arsenal games no more. You know what I mean? Like, now, I'm sorry that you're getting a little bit of stick for being a crap referee or a cheat or biased and whatever. I don't condone what's going on of that, but he deserves everything that he gets from that point of view. Like, he deserves criticism. I hear people saying that he's the number one referee. You know what I mean? Like, well, if he's the number one referee, I'm sorry. If that's the number one referee, you're going to have to get him to get. He's going to have to be criticised. Now, I don't care about. I think he deserves the criticism, and he deserves to be called out, and he deserves to be put in front of the dock and go, why are you sending him off here and you're not doing it on this one here in the same game, this and this and that? Why have you got an issue against Arsenal? That's all I'm asking. All of his family and whatever, like, you know, he's not on social media, by the way. So where is all this abuse coming from? They're going, I don't know where he lives. There's people going knocking on his door and shouting over from his garden and throwing things. I don't know what's going on there, like, you know. But if his family's getting abused and things like that, that's wrong, right? But at the end of the day, he deserves to be every little bit of criticism about his refereeing standards, not about his life and whatever. As a referee, right, he's either, I don't think he's corrupt. I just think he's got an agenda. He don't like Arsenal. That's fair. And don't think that don't happen, because our good friend Cootie has proved that is out there now, right, you know. And if I was a referee then, right, if I was a referee and I've gone through all my courses as a referee, I would be slightly biased against Tottenham. I'm not gonna lie, but I would. You know, if it was a 50-50 penalty, I'd be going, no, play on. It's human nature. He has a problem with Arsenal, right? We've got a problem with him. What's the way we're dealing with it? Don't have him no more. That's as simple as that. And that's how I'm going to leave it now, like, you know.
You probably know this, but I was just reading on a Arsenal blog, and it says, this latest dismissal marks the 8th time Oliver has shown Arsenal players a red card during his 55 matches officiating the club. This tally is significantly higher than any other club he has refereed, with Everton and Tottenham coming next at 5 each. Surprisingly, Oliver has shown just one red card to Liverpool and none to Manchester City, despite officiating both clubs in 50 or more matches. Crunching the numbers, Arsenal's tally works out to approximately one red card every 6.8 games. So and then the guy just goes on to say about potentially an investigation, but it's just absolutely crazy when you look at those numbers. Like, one every six and a half games, basically, is just, I mean, reason to believe that something is going on more than that. And also the thing with Oliver there, the fact he's never given City a red card, with the fact that there's a potential link up with Oliver in another country with City's owners,
There you go.
is obviously food for thought on that one. But yeah, I agree, Lee. I think this season especially, I feel like you have been at the forefront of a lot of probably poor decisions off the back of the PGMOL. Not just Michael Oliver, but quite a few. I mean, he was there for the Trossard one, but I think back to Brighton, was it earlier on in the season when Rice kicked the ball? Like, there's been a number of those.
Dan, can I just say something? And I think that we've been on the brunt of a few, right? But Wolves have been onto some horrendous ones.
Wolves have.
Horrendous, right? Now, coming out the grounds, you think a Wolves fan could turn around and go, "Yeah, we've had worse than that, Lee. Get on with it," like, you know what I mean? As I come out the ground, every Wolves fan that I spoke to turned around and said, it's never a sending off. Now, they've got every right to turn around and go, well, it's about time we had something go our way. But not one of them come out there and said it. They just turned around and said, like, it's ridiculous. So it's not me being biased or whatever and everything like that. It's just what you see is what you see. And listen, Fernandes should never have been sent off against Tottenham a few weeks ago. Like, you know what I mean? VAR could have backed that up and they didn't. Tottenham should have had a goal disallowed against Newcastle. You know what I mean? Like, when I see it, I've gone, yes, well done, Newcastle have equalised. As soon as I see it, his handball, I've gone, oh no, it's a definite, you know, it's called off. I couldn't believe that they give that. So every team's on the end of bad ones. Chelsea have been on. I'm pretty sure of you will say the same.
Yeah, we've had a bit of a bad run at the moment. Maresca was saying it in his press conferences.
Yeah,
as well.
and so everybody can say it. You know what I mean? Like we're not saying that. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is a referee like Oliver is too many of them. Not only that, Dan, as you say, 8 sending offs for us. There should have been a lot of sending offs against when we've played against, you know what I mean? So the Manchester City one, like, you know what I mean? Like, let's
Right, I
be
see what you
really
mean.
honest about that. If you go back to that, there's Oliver in there. In what he talks about and whatever, he should have been sent off for the first one on Odegaard. He's not, right? Okay. Then he does it against
Is this
Maguire.
Kovacic last
There's
season?
no excuses but to send him off. But he chooses not to. That's what we're saying there. Like, you know, it's not just the red cards for us; it's the red cards he ain't getting. The booking for Gomez in the same game is worse than what we've seen on that one. Like, you know, and that's what all we're saying. Like, you know, I mean, you can go into it and listen. At the end of the day,
I think that the other one. Sorry, Lee, just to join up there. Jack Grealish handball against Chelsea in the FA Cup last season semi-final. That was Michael Oliver. Nothing given. Doku's flying karate kick onto Alexis McAllister. Man City versus Liverpool. Nothing happens. Blatant red card. Rodri handball against Everton, which therefore allows them to go on to win the league. Nothing happens. That was Michael Oliver. So there's been a lot for Man City that Man City fans have said, oh, we don't like him either. He's horrible against us. He's terrible against us, X, Y, Z. And the third, we scored the goal where Kyle Walker doesn't run back in time and Michael Oliver allows us to play on, and then Calafiori scores an absolute worldie. They're saying that's out of order, blah, blah, blah.
he's already sent off our player.
He's already sent off.
Yeah.
Exactly that. So, look, I'm going to be real. I think there's something going on there. However, I have just watched, which is why I was out there, the ref watch. Dermot Gallagher, what a lovely man he is. He's had his say on it and very sheepishly has sort of agreed that he's hadn't made a mistake. But the rule is, if it looks like it has gone down the Achilles, referees are told red card straight away, no hesitation. And that is what Michael Oliver is basically seen. So Dermot Gallagher is saying that's what he must have seen. That's why it was a red card straight away, no hesitation. He's gone down the back of his Achilles. He said, no, I don't think he has. Looking back at it, that he has. I don't think he has gone down his Achilles. So then Rob says, well, why didn't they go to VAR then and say, look, go and have another look at it, see if he has gone down his Achilles? And his reply was, I don't know, I can't answer that. However, it is not a clear and obvious decision that it has not gone down his Achilles. So therefore, the VAR would not get involved because it can only get involved if it's clear and obvious, which we know is BS. Because how many times has there not been clear and obvious that people are getting involved in? People couldn't wait sometimes. Even the Saliba sending off against Bournemouth, I think it's a red card because he's last man.
Even that Howard Webb one, remember when he went to his phone straight away and started messaging?
Yeah, there you go.
I can't remember what foul that was, but
no.
That was the Bournemouth one. That was
the Bournemouth one. He went to his phone, and then Jared Gillett decides, the Liverpool fan, funny enough, decides to get involved and say, I think actually, did you see Ben White here? He might be the last man, and gets involved. So that ain't clear and obvious. Yeah. So look, he ain't gone down his Achilles. Michael Oliver's going to use that because of where he's at, where he's standing. It's ridiculous. That's what the ref watch has said. Everybody on there has obviously said to Dermot Gallagher, it's not a red card. What's going on? Dermot Gallagher agrees it's not a red card and it's a mistake. He did say it's out of order the abuse that he's getting, which we've all agreed with, and that is wrong. But there's no way that is a sending off and that he has gone down his Achilles. Now, if that is the rule, that's a rule I didn't realise, by the way, that if it gets down your Achilles, you have to go. There's no sort of saying.
They mean like that scraping action, don't they? Yeah, right.
Yeah, scraping down the Achilles is a red card, but I don't think he does do that. Even if you play it on slow motion, he's not done that. It's a reckless foul.
It's more to the side of his foot than down the
exactly.
back.
Like
he's just tripped him,
he's tripped him. Yeah, he's got in late. No one's denying it's not a yellow card. Crikey, it is a yellow card. But I don't understand how that's a red. But look, it hasn't in the end cost us as things go. Look, let's wrap up with Chelsea. I don't know what's going on with Chelsea, if I'm honest with you, Dan. I don't know if it's Maresca. I don't know if it's the team that ain't good enough. One thing I do know is that goalkeeper is an absolute bozo. That is one thing I do know. He is the worst goalkeeper in the league by quite some distance, and Chelsea need to get rid of him. And I keep saying this, that Chelsea need a striker, a centre-half and a goalkeeper if they want to move forward. The defenders was an absolute joke against Foden. I don't know what's happening there. And then, obviously, the striker situation has cost you the last few games, in my opinion, because Jackson's been missing the target again. So I don't know why you're linked with Garnacho. That makes no sense whatsoever. There is no way that is a good signing for 60 or 70 million when you've already got Neto, Madueke, Sancho, the list goes on. Surely that would be better spent on an Osimhen type signing or Gyökeres type signing. I think a centre half in Mark Guehi would be a great shout, and I think a goalkeeper of any kind at the moment would be better than Sanchez. So, talk to me, bro. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I honestly didn't. I didn't see it coming. I think last season I was obviously really downbeat about Poch, and I felt like the club wasn't being ran in the best way. And obviously he then sort of picked things up a little bit towards the end of the season, but I still felt like we'll move forwards this season. And actually under Maresca, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. I know I wasn't ever happy that he was a championship manager coming in, but now in the last 2 months, Chelsea have regressed massively. At a point this season, we look very good. We're playing very good football. So it tells me that Maresca is capable of getting this side to play decent football. But in the last 2 months, that has completely disappeared. And it's not as if the squad has been absolutely riddled with injuries to the point that he wouldn't be able to do that. I think he's now actually probably been found out by other managers on how his system works and how to sort of stop that and frustrate him. And I think it's causing him massive issues because I don't believe he's actually doing much to change. I think he's very stubborn in his approach. And I think ultimately that is probably going to be something that turns the Chelsea fans against him if he doesn't change. Now, I'm not sat here saying he needs to be sacked. I'm saying he's a young and experienced manager who I think Chelsea fans are prepared to back because they quite like him and they've seen him have his team play good football. But he needs to learn and he needs to do it quickly. Otherwise, things will get out of control. I think he's got a young team that are now showing how fragile they are, that they can't get themselves out. We beat Wolves, but they can't get themselves out of a rut. I think there's a huge amount of light being shone on the sporting directors and how poorly they've spent this huge amount of money. Because you brought up that chart earlier, right? Chelsea are at the top of that by £1 billion. Like we've got £1 billion clear gap there. And I think the recruitment has just been so poor. The fact that every single Chelsea fan has been talking about what's needed in this squad. And ultimately, they've bought in no one that's fixed any of the issues that have been here now for multiple windows. We've had one striker coming in, Jackson, over 4 windows, and he cost 37 million. I think we're seeing a player now that, I don't know if he's out of his depth, but he definitely isn't helping Chelsea when they need him most. I think Cole Palmer's performances are now suffering with off the back of the team being probably found out. I think defensively there are huge issues, and then I'm actually fed up talking about the goalkeeper because I think it's almost unfair on him because he obviously isn't good enough to play in the Premier League, and Maresca keeps deciding to play him and back him, and I think that's another decision that Chelsea fans will eventually lose patience with Maresca because everyone in world football right now can see this guy probably shouldn't be playing in goal, and Maresca's publicly coming out and backing him, and then last night or after the game, the worst thing Maresca did is say, I think we are now better than we were 2 months ago. And we've won 1 game since then. And I think that's the worst thing he could have said, because unless that's been lost in translation, no one at Chelsea or Chelsea fans, or probably you watch enough football, agree that that would be the case. So, yeah, I'm baffled with it, to be completely honest with you. We've got a week to bring something into this squad. Otherwise, genuinely, I don't see Chelsea making the top 5.
Unbelievable, Danny, with Chelsea. I've got to say this. Going back to that Fulham Arsenal game, Tottenham playing Chelsea, I remember sitting on the train when Spurs, I'm thinking to myself, come on, Spurs, get an equaliser, because I'm looking at Chelsea's next games over at Christmas and everything like that, and I'm thinking that they could be like, well, we can't catch them like with the games that we had and Liverpool had. I think like they was definitely like.
There were some fans saying Chelsea will be top of the league by New Year's.
Yeah. By this time, I felt at this time with the games that they had, Ipswich away was one of them, Fulham at home,
Everton.
Everton. There's been some games when you think like, well, they're going to win those games. You can't see them dropping any points for the next month till they play. I actually looked at it and thought, oh, they might not drop any points till Man City away. That's what, if I be really honest, you know what I mean? Like looking at it, they've hardly performed since then. They've not hardly got a result. And it has been a big surprise for me, like, you know. I didn't watch the game because I was travelling back from Wolves, but see the highlights of it. Like, I see that they went 1-0 up early doors, and you think, wow, Manchester City, like, were all over the place in that first 10 minutes. And I watched Cole Palmer score probably one of the best goals that I've seen when he puts the goalkeeper on his backside without doing anything, like, you know. And he's clean through against Manchester City. And what was he doing? Trying to play it to Jackson. They go 2-0 up if he does that.
Yeah, it was such a poor pass as well.
Everything about it was so poor from him. Like, you know, and don't get me wrong, he's a wonderful player. But when it really mattered, he needed to just be that little bit calm and calculated that he was. So I don't know what's going on there. I think defensively, I think that Chelsea have been found out a little bit, like, you know, and some of the tactics that they played, I think they showed what they was doing against Manchester City on the highlights and all that, like, you know, come on, you've got to learn lessons. This is what you say about coaches and all that, like, you know, you're playing Manchester City. What are you letting Haaland go 1-on-1 for? Or not on more than one occasion?
I felt like we set up like Tottenham would, to be completely honest with you. We had an incredibly high line, and Vardy and Haaland just kept running in behind, and we didn't do anything about it.
No, and don't get me wrong, they played very, very well against Liverpool just before Christmas, and, you know, and they didn't come out losing it 2-1, but they looked a real threat. But at this moment in time, that, you know, they've dropped down now, I think, to 6th in the league, are they now? Like, you know what I mean?
6th level on points with Bournemouth.
Blimey.
I think we're only ahead on goals scored, actually.
So it's been a real poor month for them, like, you know. And again, you know what I mean? Like, we're all going there, look, you know, let's back the manager, spend it. He's had enough money to not be in that sort of run, if I'll be honest. And I just feel that I don't know what's happened with Chelsea. I was genuinely worried about them after that game against Spurs. I thought that this, you know, when people are going, we ain't in a title race, and people were going, and I thought, you know what I mean, you are. And I was very
if you look at the points, like, you couldn't deny that Chelsea were in a title race. But like I said the other week, like, we've on a 100-meter sprint, we've run about 10 meters and pulled our hamstring.
Yeah, and believe it or not, you know, Manchester City went above them on that game, didn't they? Like, you know, so
if we'd have beat City, we would have been 5 points clear, right? And it would have probably just given us a bit of a kickstart. But we didn't manage the game well. And do you know what? The thing that really bugs me is that Maresca come out afterwards saying it's exactly how I wanted to sit up. We pressed really high. We caused some issues. And we should have been a 2-0 up. And because of the moment, I think that would have taken the game away. He said that pretty much after every defeat we've had in the past 2 months, because, yes, we haven't been clinical enough. But I'll be completely honest. The goal we scored is barely Chelsea's positive approach to the game.
I get that.
The kid has made a mistake. And luckily, Jackson's got his pass off in time. And Noni Madueke, as much as he does miss, can't miss an open goal. And I really think to sit there and say afterwards that we really sort of started well, I'm not sure whether that's just manager talking to just sort of back his players up a little bit there, because I actually don't think Chelsea played that well at all yesterday. I think City probably made mistakes that allowed Chelsea to have opportunities rather than Chelsea working them themselves. And I think that's probably the poorest we've been that game in a while. And look, losing to City is never really a massive issue. I think yesterday just felt like the accumulation of the whole point, and then to see how far off we are from City now, who have been poor this season, probably shows that we've regressed so much. And I think that, as much as I hate to say it, I think there's now a point where Chelsea were better finishing the season under Pochettino than they are now in the last 2 months under Maresca. And I think at the beginning of the season, that wasn't the case. We were playing far better football, and we were getting results. The fact of the matter is now, I don't think we are. So it's almost like we've just done a 180 flip on how last season was. We started poorly and finished better. This season looks as if we've started well and we're going to sort of fall away. And I think there's an argument that Chelsea finish in and around the same sort of position that they did last season at this moment in time. And I think for that to happen will be absolutely disgraceful. I mean, the mentality has completely died at Chelsea Football Club. The things that are being said from Maresca in press conferences, he's come out and said, we're not ready. If we finish anywhere from 4th, 5th, 6th now, it's okay. Champions League was never on the agenda this season. But when Pochettino was sacked, the programme note of the final day of the season against Bournemouth said, we will do everything we can to ensure Chelsea are consistently competing in the Champions League. And that come from high up, the sporting directors and Egbali, I believe. So I've got the programme somewhere. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just the point that the mentality is completely dropped and some people are believing this is acceptable. And I think that's what Chelsea fans are struggling to cope with because, unfortunately, for the last 20 years prior to Clearlake, Chelsea hasn't been about trying to scrape into top 4.
Look, it's interesting with Chelsea. I really thought that they would get guaranteed Champions League. They could still do it, but it's very close up there, man. Judges, I know you've got to shoot, man, so I'll let you jump off and I'll do the super chats to close. Big up for coming on, mate.
No worries. Take care. Cheers, Dan. Take care, guys. Thanks for the chat. See you later on.
In a bit, bro. Dan, let's do the super chats before we do come to a close. This one comes in from Garbo. Says VAR this year is just there to back up the refs on field decision. It's not to actually work the way it's meant. That's so true, by the way. I just think with VAR they should change. I just think VAR should just be so simple and it's just so confusing. And the reason I think is not actually because, like, people say VAR doesn't work. VAR works because it's just a system, right? Just a video replay, right? So you just got to click a button and say, I'd like to view it. What should happen, in my opinion, is the referee should just go over there. There should be no anybody in his ear. There should be nobody saying, this is my opinion. It should just be penalty. Right, I'm going to go and take a look. Make sure I've got that right. I'm going to go and have another look, and I'm going to make a decision there and then. Have I got that right or have I got it wrong? None of this, oh, Dave, we think this. No, John, hang on, Dave, don't say anything. John's coming in now. Hang on one sec. John, what do you think?
Tails, and start using nicknames and stuff, which I also think is outrageous.
Embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. So that's what I think is a nightmare. Garbo also says, anyone like that last comment defending the decision has never played football. I mean, like Dermot Gallagher's there today on Ref Watch. Just go and have a listen. He says it's simple. The PGMOL do not want Arsenal winning the league, and this is their way of trying to stop it from happening. Look, I don't know if that's true. I've no idea. All I will say is it's very suspicious that you've got Michael Oliver, who's now sent us off 8 times, that's going out refereeing games for Manchester City in Dubai. It just stinks, if I'm honest. It just absolutely stinks.
And he's never given City a red card in over 50 games.
You know what? That is mad. That to me is mad. Like he actually did give City a red card. It was Derek Boyata back in 2014, but this was when he first got into refereeing. Right, there was an FA Cup game against Blackburn, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he got a second yellow card. I give him a red.
Yeah, but does that mean that he's never actually dished out a straight red to City?
Seems that way.
Yeah.
Seems that way. Yeah, seems that way. Sush says we can all agree the Premier League's among the best football league worldwide, yet standards of refereeing is tarnishing that image. I think it's like a combo of club tribalism and money affecting ref standards. Look, refereeing has become really poor. And I don't think it's ever been great, if I'm honest, because somebody asked me a question the other day and I struggled to answer it. Name your top 3 referees in England.
Yeah,
and by the way, going back in history, this is not just now. This is
even like Mike Riley and all
these guys. They're just absolutely horrendous days. So, I mean, the only one I didn't mind was Jeff Winter, if I'm honest. If I had to pick, it would be Jeff Winter, Mark Housey, probably.
Yeah, Mark Housey comes across well and has distanced himself a little bit from the modern day PGMOL. And I've heard him on a few podcasts. There was one other, but I can't remember who it was now. But yeah, there's not many.
There's so many that were awful back in the day. You look at Ellery and Mike Riley and Durkin and all these crap ones years ago, and now they've just become even more. Howard Webb and Atkinson and Clattenburg and what was the one? What's his name with the 3 yellow cards? What was his name?
Oh yeah, wait, what was that?
Graham Poll. Absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. How can you go to a World Cup and give 3 yellow cards out? You know, this is a standard that it's been for years now. And I think we've got to bring European referees in now. You know, really have. Keith Hackett, Uriah Rennie, the other 2.
Uriah Rennie.
Mentioned. Uriah
Rennie. They brought in one foreign import, haven't they, as a referee in the Australian guy.
Gillett. Jared Gillett. Yeah.
So there's one obviously in. I mean, he's actually been at the forefront of a number of decisions as well that have been controversial, but he obviously showed himself being mic'd up, for a game in Australia, and it worked really well. I just think there's so many issues with how VAR has been applied that people have now convinced themselves the technology doesn't work. But what people need to understand is VAR is applied in every other competition in Europe, and I don't think they have issues to this degree. Other leagues, European Champions Leagues, European tournaments, international tournaments, they just don't have these issues. And I'll tell you what, watching the FA Cup the other day without VAR, it was a little bit more refreshing because you knew when the goal went in, it went in. It didn't matter if the liner had got it wrong or not. It was just a goal, wasn't it? So
crazy. It was so much better without it. Like Lee said that he
agree.
bumped into a load of Ipswich fans on the way back from the Wolves game the other day. They were coming back down from Anfield, obviously, and they had a chat with him and said, what happened today? And he talked about it. And they just said, what happened in your game? And he was like, look, we were outclassed by Liverpool. We were class. We expected to go up there and have a laugh. We did. We got hammered. We thought we'd get hammered. He said, but I'll tell you what, if we do go down to the Championship, I will not miss VAR. That's what they said.
They could have been on the back end of a bad decision, like a bad foul, though, like on a red card. Because I don't know if you've seen that Enciso challenge, but that's a little bit Nigel de Jong, the way he went in on that one.
It was. That's a good signing, by the way, Enciso. I can't believe.
Yeah, I feel like he's a player that sort of fell out of favour with a few injuries at Brighton. Yeah, but he's got a couple of worldies in his locker, isn't he?
He has, mate. He's got a hell of a foot on him. But anyway, listen, Dan. Big up to you for coming on. Make sure you go follow Dan on BDB Dan on all social media, YouTube and platforms. Big up to Judges as well, who's had to shoot off, and we will be redirecting you to Saeed, who's live now. So please stay tuned. Go and raid. So Dan Potts sent you. Go show him some love, and we'll be back later, mate. Dan, you got anything on later or tomorrow? Or
yeah, we'll have some stuff out chatting about obviously where Chelsea are at right now. So if you want to listen to Chelsea stuff, I'll be there uploading.
Lovely. Make sure you go do that, people. We'll be back later. Take it easy, and we will see you next time. Big up.